Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Little Port Christian Spiritualists. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone online this fine Thursday evening, and it's a bit of a strange one for me actually. The technical side of it, as always, is still my remit, but tonight I don't have a medium to introduce because I'm introducing myself. Hello, it's me. But welcome one and all who are watching live right now, all across the stratosphere, and to everyone who will watch later on the not so live service. You're all so very welcome, and welcome back to Chateau Del Nick. Now we have a normal and usual service for you tonight. We have got a reading, we've got healing, we've got Hannah and Bully sitting waiting in the wings, we've got recipients waiting for a message. The only thing that we don't have sitting down in the bottom, of course, as I said, is a medium. But what we do have, of course, is Reverend Lynn, who's going to be joining us in a moment. She's just getting herself ready, and I can see already that the evenings and the comments are coming in from everyone. In particular, this is my favourite. Do we know this medium called Reverend Nick Brown? I've heard of him once or twice, but not always very in a positive light. He's a bit of a natty one. He's all yakking on all the time. But we'll see how he gets on. I'd like to begin, as ever, with a little word or three, as I frequently do. It's been, of course, as ever and as always been over these last few months, a very strange time. And I know that one of the things that everyone's talking about right now, of course, is the vaccine. All I can say to this, and I'm not going to come out one way or t'other, all I'm going to say is this. Spiritualism is a religion, a philosophy, a way of life, and indeed has scientific thought behind it. Why? Because each week we demonstrate life is eternal and seek to prove it through the use of a medium. So there is a scientific approach to everything we do. However, those that would say that it is a science, there's a little bit of a to and froing on that, and I'm not getting into that because you know what? I'm not getting tagged or pulled or drawn into any particular side of the debate at all, although I know a lady who probably will. We did say earlier that something I might say might inspire her to say what she's got tonight. I think she might have got her bait and hook already, and she's smiling sweetly at me from down in the waiting room, so I think I said all I needed to on behalf of Spirit. But there is a scientific approach to what we do, in the sense that we seek to prove what we do. So therefore, when it comes to religion just being about faith, I would say that in this religion in particular, we don't just rely on blind faith. We have proof. And any real scientific outlook is to understand something that we don't fully know yet. That's what science really is. So in that vein, every religion is scientific. It's just that we tend to go that little bit further than most, perhaps, but not all, I'm sure. However, there's a twitching of a nose and a twitching of a corner of the mouth, so I know she's inspired and ready, and it is time, my friends. I've wound her up enough. It's time to bring on the infamous and quite celebrity status this week, after all she's been up to, which I'm sure she'll tell you all about as well. Your radio show. Stop looking in the air like I'm talking like a nut job. It's Reverend Lynn. Hello,
Tracy. Well, good evening. And because it's online, I suppose, we know that people are going to be watching after this particular moment has passed. I should say good morning and good afternoon as well. And good night.
Yes.
As for being inspired, Reverend Nick, I think probably irritated.
That's my job.
Probably a good one. Well, the fact is this, that to use the analogy of a pearl, pearls of great price and value and beauty, which is more important to us as spiritualists, never mind price and all the rest of it. But pearls are made by an irritant being introduced into the shell, poor thing, of an oyster. And that irritant builds up and builds up this special substance and it becomes a pearl. And everybody goes, oh, how beautiful. Of course, ignoring the fact that some oyster must have suffered greatly. But yes, so hopefully I will be able to bring forth a pearl of wisdom, but I'm not too sure. And of course, the other thing is that one person's wisdom is another person's blasphemy.
Yes.
And or some other person's reason for being offended. But what I would like to say is that spiritualism itself shouldn't actually offend anybody. But nevertheless, we do, it seems. And funnily enough, it's not just religions, other religious beliefs that we can sometimes inadvertently offend. It's also the lot that don't hold with any religion, atheists. And within that grouping, there are religious scientists, we know, but within that grouping, there are a lot of scientists who are atheists, unfortunately. And the fact is, you were talking about our knowledge, that the proof that we provide, not just blind faith, as you said. Nevertheless, there are plenty who would actually refute the fact that we give proof. And that has always been a problem for spiritualism, right since it began in 1848. Ever since the first bangings and rappings and everything, absolutely, without any doubt, that happened. Hundreds of people testified to the fact there were all these bangings and crashings in the Fox family cottage in Hydesville, USA, and they all came to listen, and they all understood that this alphabetic communication that the Fox family had set up with the individual in spirit was intelligent, it made sense, they could all hear that. They still wanted to have a go, ever since. And as we know, the Wesley family of Methodist fame, they also had similar bangings and rappings, but they, of course, being English, ignored it. Ignore it and it'll go away. Eventually, after throwing a few books around and things like that, the person who was trying to communicate with the Wesleys gave up and obviously shifted over to America and said, well, you take it on. But however, I mean that very spiritually, of course, and religiously. Now, the thing is this, that what we enjoy as spiritualists is knowing that miracles happen, knowing that there is communication between this life and the next life and those who dwell in both. The two worlds are met when a medium like yourself, Reverend Nick, actually gets communication from those who live in that other world and bring those communications forward to those who are living here still. And the proof that they give is evidential. We talk about evidence of survival. They give information, memories. They identify themselves by perhaps the way they passed, quite frequently, the way they passed over, who was around them at the time, little nuggets of information that ordinarily people wouldn't know, and sometimes lodged in the minutiae of our material lives. What kind of socks they wore, or what kind of food they like to eat, or what you've been doing recently, to prove that they've been around and actually seen that. So there's all those kinds of proofs, and they go on not just here tonight, as they will do, but all around the world, wherever spiritualists meet, to have a meeting of communication that's included in the services, or whether they're just evenings or demonstrations of clairvoyance, as they're called often. There's always that surety that there will be proof of life after what we call death. And this is amazing. And also the other thing is this, that those that live over there are able to help us who are stuck down here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean stuck. I meant who live down here. And they are helpful to us in so many different ways. They give us little signs and nudges of hints about their presence. You don't even need to be a medium to actually receive those little signs and the little wonderful things that go on in your life. If you just open your mind to the actual occasions when this has happened, you've turned the radio on and a lovely song has come through that reminds you of your parents or aunties, or a loved friend who's gone before. And I say that they have actually been able to manipulate you into turning that radio on because they have known what's going to come on. And similarly, this evening, even I was pottering about. This is the amazing small jumper that my mum knitted for me so many years ago when I was a size 12. And it stretched. It stretched on its own. I didn't stretch it, honest. I had it in a drawer, hidden away for ages, and I took it out as you do, and I looked at it and I thought, that's strange. It looks bigger than it was, and it got big. And I thought I'd try it on. I hardly wouldn't dare to. But here's the miracle, that this size 12 jumper that was knitted by my ma in about, I think, the 1980s, a long time ago now, is able to come out of its drawer and I can wear it for this event. And the other thing is that I needed something to prop my camera up on, you see, all very technical. I thought, oh, I can't have it right down there. It's sort of looking upwards. And I went across to the bookcase, and as you can see, it's pretty dull in here. Well, it is for some of us. And I pulled out a book, and it was one that I haven't seen for years. And it's an embossed book. And when I opened it, I thought, oh, I remember this. I'm sure it was my mum's. And I opened it, and it was inscribed to her from a friend. And I thought, wow, thank you very much. I know you're around then. I tried not to feel nervous about what I was going to say or do, because my ma was a college lecturer, a teacher, and she was pretty critical of words and language, and particularly me. So the thing is this, that we can have these little signs and wonders in our life. We just open our minds and don't listen to people who say that, it's all coincidence, it's coincidental. Oh yes, it's always general, and mediums give generalities, and everybody can take that. Well, what rubbish! Because if you see any medium working, a medium can sit in a group of, say, 10 people, and if they don't know who they're going to, they can get somebody come through as a communicator and give that information. And however trivial it may be, just one, or most usually 2 people, will be able to take that information. And then when it's whittled down, just the one. So you see, it isn't all generalities. It isn't. And, as for miracles, tonight, I have to mention this, of course, because most people probably thought I would. You don't have to be psychic. It's the first night of Hanukkah. And that is the Jewish festival, or the festival of the Jews, I would prefer to say, where we celebrate a real miracle. Apart from the miracle of the uprising that was successful against the occupiers of Jerusalem at the time and Israel, but the fact that when they did overthrow the regime, and these were just sort of basically mountain guerrillas, who were not guerrillas as in orangutans, but guerrilla warfare people, and they were nipping in and out and having a go, and they were successful, and they wanted to reconsecrate the temple at Jerusalem. You know, the one where Jesus was found when he went missing. Remember, he went on the missing list when he was about 12. Yeah. And he said, when his worried parents found him, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm in my Father's house. Where else would I be?" He was discussing with the rabbis there various points. I can just imagine it now. And that's the same temple that way before that, 100 or so years before he was actually born, was reconsecrated for the Jews. And to reconsecrate it, they lit the menorah, the ceremonial candelabra with the branches, where they would burn oil in each one to commemorate a week of celebration. And there was only enough oil for like one day. And in actual fact, that oil grew or spread and was able to provide 8 days of light when they only expected it to last for one. And that in itself was heralded as a great miracle. Again, it was objective. You see, like this, there you are. I can prove that my jumper grew. It looks ridiculous, but that's it's the truth of it. And the lights that were in the temple were able to light for a week when they only had a day, because it stretched. And Jesus himself, you remember the loaves and the fishes? And they said how many people he'd fed with just a couple of bits of food, apparently. That stretched, that multiplied. It multiplied. And the fact is this, that God can do anything. And we have to just hang on to that fact. It's not just faith. Everything that we stand for in spiritualism, and whatever kind of spiritualism you adhere to, whether you like to say you're a Christian spiritualist, which is what we say we are, because we follow the teachings and example of Jesus, and we also accept him, of course, as our Lord and Master and elder brother and friend, and we look to him for guidance as well and comfort in our lives. But if other spiritualists would rather stay with either their own core religions, whatever they've been born into and brought up as and feel comfortable with, or just want to be spiritualists without any other religious trappings or philosophy to go with it. So they just hold on to that. I think that's all fine, because spiritualism itself is such a wonderful experience for everybody who is a part of it. And I know that when we pray, we know that our prayers are heard, and we know that they get answered. And we understand it may not be straight away. It may not be in the way that we want them answered, but we know that they will be, and we know that our prayers are heard. Whereas other religions are asked to believe that, and they're not given any proof. But what I like best is a testimony. There are churches which, of course, encourage testimony, where people witness and say, yes, I've had a wonderful miracle in my life, and they talk about that. And that's what we do as spiritualists all the time. We can all discuss different things that have happened to us. I've had miracles in my own life. I know that you will have had miracles in yours. You've just got to identify them and go with it. And don't let people put you off. The psychologists and the scientists, and what is so wonderful about modern science, actually, it can support us, because, of course, we can talk about quantum theory, quantum mechanics, and quantum physics. We understand so much more about the way the universe works now. That 100 years ago would have been unheard of and would have been poo-pooed. And of course, go back 300 or 400 years, and we'd have all been accused of being witches and warlocks. So really and truly, don't be put off by people who try to dumb down our way of life, our philosophy, our religion, because we have got a wonderful philosophy of life, and miracles do happen. And I will show you, because tonight, because I'm a Jew, I'm proud of that too, because Jesus was also a Jew, and I'm picking this up and turning this round, and what you should be able to see,
there it is
the Hanukkah candles for the first night of Hanukkah, and you can see the lights and things like that, and we are told that we should put them in in a window so that people can see the light, literally, and know that miracles do happen. And so there you are. On that note, I think I'll try and sort out my thing. It's a shame, isn't it, that I'm going to have to wait for Reverend Nick to come round, to call round, and put this little thingy-bob in the computer so that my voice does not echo when we are all talking at once. I'm the only person who's not allowed to talk at once with everybody else, by the way. I have to talk either on my own or listen to everybody else and not say anything, just signal, like. But I hope that you have a miracle in your life real soon, that you can look back and think about the miracles that happened for you and your family, your friends, loved ones. And that's all I can say, really. May you be blessed with a miracle. Whatever you need at the moment, that you get that. So I'll say now, over to you, Reverend Nick.
Thank you, Lynn. And of course, the reason no one can hear an echo at the moment is because I've been shut up myself. I'm just going to briefly mute it so that I don't get my feedback. There's always two ways of looking at things, just to prove that. Is that, yes, quite often I mute you, but that's only when you're not actually talking. The point is, when you're talking, no one else can, which is even better. There you go. So, and I'm going to do my mute unmute bit for a brief moment, because I do want to have a bit of a chat with you, just briefly. Question is, how long have you been with us in the Fens, dear?
Since 1998.
Yes. Now, the reason I ask that is because it is nice to see that you're finally turning into a Fenny.
I am. Yeah. Oh, have I got skates coming out my ears?
Well, no, I remember from 1998, because there is a word that we've used in spiritualism for a very long time that you used to pronounce slightly differently, that we've heard a couple of times tonight, and you can watch it back, because when you used to speak, you would often say communicate. But I've noticed that over the last few months, you've started talking like us Fennies and saying communicate.
Right.
So you're one of us now, dear.
Well, thank you. I've always wanted to be one of them, or one of us. I know, dear Reverend Nick, that I am one of you, regardless of my accent. But it's interesting that, of course, when you look at various accents, if you look at the Americans, of course, that I think a lot of them came from here too, didn't they?
Yes.
As in New York.
Yes.
I haven't said New York for many moons.
No.
But it is New York. And I think, communication comes into that as well. I think the Fox sisters would have called it communication. I don't think they'd have called it communication, because they came from New York State.
Absolutely. I have to say, Kathy has just reminded me of something you used to say.
Oh, look, there's Kathy. Right, okay. Yeah. So, well, I do remember our dear friend Erica from the church. If you remember, she helped set up the church.
Yes.
And she used to say to me, there's no T's in Littleport.
She did.
We know you're foreign because you say Little Port. She said there's no T's in Littleport. And of course, when people ask me now where I come from, I'm not going to say, but it may not have T's in it.
Brilliant. I really love it. I know everyone's loving hearing from you tonight as well. I do promise over the next, now let me the doesn't cover over what I'm about to say so everyone can hear it. within the next 7 days before the next service, I shall come and set you up so that the echo is free and we can discuss and interact, and you can interrupt me and I can interrupt you, so that we can both make pearls of each other.
Thank you, dear Nick.
Well, thank you for coming on, as ever. Lovely. Now, I will say, I did know the story about the jumper from very recently. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, go across to one of the New Christian Spiritualist Society's other churches on Bridlington at Pastures Green, New Christian Spiritualist Society. There was a Q&A, a discussion on Sunday with Principal Minister Reverend Lynn, and I heard her talking about the jumper then, among other things.
Wow.
So that's where you got inspired to get the jumper from, I would imagine, because you was talking about it on Sunday.
Oh, I don't remember. You see, the other thing is that you know, we speak, and as I think I would have said on Sunday, as I would, whenever it was, whenever I speak, I don't have a script, because you don't need a script if you tell the truth. You only need a script to answer questions if you don't know, or if you're not in contact with your spirit helpers and inspirers, and you have to remember lies. You know, so I think that I tend to trust that, but what that does mean is that I will therefore be guilty of repeating myself from time to time, because the truth stands, doesn't it? And if we're talking about any particular aspect of our spiritualist life, we're bound to repeat ourselves here and there. So I apologize to anybody for repeating myself, but there are things that are, you know, that are relevant, and they get talked about. And certainly, you know, like the young lady who started giggling in a demonstration, and I remonstrated with her as I was sharing a platform with her and a few others at the time at Rochester Square Temple, which was Arthur Conan Doyle's doing. He put up the money for the start of that church in Camden that time. It's now gone, but we won't go there. But yeah, so she was giggling hysterically and in the middle of her demo, and I sort of gently tried to stop her, and well, she couldn't stop, so I stood up and took over. And afterwards, she told me that it was her guides that had made her do it. So I suppose, you know, there is that too, that our guides have a certain, you know, certain ways with them, and hopefully they won't cause me to become hysterical, only to repeat myself about stories about jumpers getting bigger. But I do think it's quite extraordinary, and it's a sort of a major thing that I can refer to. So I suppose they sort of let me know that, and boom, out it comes. And I do talk about it, I'm sure.
Yes, I have to say, actually, in spite of your concerns, it was actually a lovely continuation of that story. Once again, about talking about proof, you could easily tell a story about a jumper, but then a few days later, there's the actual jumper. So it actually did continue it, and you weren't repeating yourself. And in fact, everyone who watched on Sunday that's commenting agrees with me. So there we are.
Oh, Sarah, Reverend Sarah is saying, we didn't get to the end of the questions and need to book Revlin again.
Yes. I can't imagine how that could have happened, Sarah.
Neither can I. Neither can I.
Yes. Well, it's always lovely chatting.
Thank you, Reverend Nick. And now you better get on, you know.
Yes, I will now bring Anna up. See you soon. I will see you at the end for my remonstration. She's getting ready for it now. Reverend Alan, it's time for a reading, methinks, dear boy.
Hello, everybody. And thank you for those words again, Lynn. They always inspire. Well, tonight's reading is quite short, and it's one by one of my favourite poets, Alison Stormwolf, and it's called The Archer. I take out my arrow of unfinished dreams and desires and place it firmly in the bow. Of my determination, aim it at the starlit sky. Such amazing power behind the action, totally pure intention. And as my prayers ascend the night sky, transverse Mother Moon in silhouette, the planets call out in unison. She knows her path. We will assist our sister. I can close my eyes, and in that deep place where day has cast aside my worries, can rest assured and protected. The universe is on my side. What now can scare me? Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, that was rather deep as well, wasn't it, Alan? I love that.
Well, I like Alison Stormwolf because her poetry has much deeper meanings.
Yes.
It's not just words. And in words of her own, she says, poetry is a philosophy of our soul.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely agree. And everyone at home is agreeing too. I can't keep up at the moment with all the comments popping up to bring onto the screen of all of the compliments and loving, but you can read them obviously when you're not on the screen.
Well, no, I will be posting it later.
Yes.
For anybody that like feels inspired by Alison Stormwolf, if they just go on a search engine and type in Alison Stormwolf, she has a whole site of poetry on there.
Wonderful.
And she really is a wonderful person. She actually got the name Stormwolf bestowed on her by the Native Americans.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. That is brilliant. Thank you for sharing that as ever. And I look forward to having a proper read of it later on because excuse me, because as anyone knows who's getting ready to do a demonstration of mediumship, everything starts to go a little bit woo as you start linking in and ignoring the physical and getting in tune with the spiritual. So I'll have a proper read, but it does sound absolutely, and it was just the depth of it is what I was picking up before I was starting to link it. I actually think it might have helped me a little bit. So thank you.
And the other thing as well, Nick, is that I actually think that poem actually linked in very well with your words at the beginning and some of what Reverend Lynn was saying. It's just amazing how they bring it all together.
Absolutely. In actual fact, talking about hearing the phrases and words that Lynn's used for over 20 years now, one of my favourite is always, how did they do that?
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant. So Alan, as ever, thank you so much, mate. And I'll have a proper read later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
God bless you, my friend. See you soon. Stay for the end. Now, oh, hang on, I'm going a bit cranky there. Sorry, dear. Right, where are we? See, I'm definitely not. See, Penny saying, sorry, you're not firing on all four cylinders. Look at me. I'm not either. This is going to be an interesting night. I have a couple of announcements before our healing. Firstly, to welcome our first time of the night, Teresa, who's been commenting. She's been here for her first time tonight. And also, I'd like to say a happy birthday to Danielle Griffith. Now, of course, she's not the only person with a birthday tonight. Let's do things a little bit back to front briefly for a change. Samantha, are you there, dear? She's disappearing. You'll have to unmute yourself. Are you there, dear? Samantha? You're muted, darling.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
I'm hiding.
Hello.
Right.
I thought you might be, because I knew if I made you wait for this, you'd probably get away with it, but you're not, because someone in a picture that I'm about to share on screen is having a happy birthday today. Don't you look lovely blonde, dear?
Oh dear.
I thought Hannah would enjoy it more than you.
I can get my own back, Nick. Just do you remember that?
I'm sure you can, and I'm sure you will. But I just wanted to say happy birthday, obviously to Danielle, but also to your good self, my dear.
Thank you.
And we'll see both of you later on. Oh, I'm going to get myself in so much trouble tonight. Right, so it is time, my friends, before the demonstration of mediumship, to go into a brief moment of contemplation and silence and sending out of our thoughts to all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort. And of course, the way we do this on our online services is we say our prayer, we have our video, yes, that concept that I stole from the lovely Ashley Oliver who's commenting, and then we say amen. But the bit that matters is that you send out your thoughts. And when I do say the prayer, listen to the words, for the words are the words that have meaning. And one of the greatest gifts of spiritualism is the ability to ask for help for yourself and for everyone else. And so let's join together as we say our healing prayer and send out our thoughts and say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother, God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them, both those we know and those we do not know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now. Amen. Well, oh, you've moved. There you are. Well, friends, this is the thing. I drifted. Well, now is the time in our service when we have our demonstration of mediumship. And normally it'd also be the point that you get to not hear my voice for half an hour or so. But tonight, it's not the case. So let's welcome up our first recipient of the evening. It is Tracy. Tracy, are you there?
I'm there. Hi.
Hello. How are you, my dear?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good. Right. Well, let's get started and see who we have got for you. And of course, this is, as I said to you at the beginning, it's very different because normally I disappear at this point, but it's just us now. So let's see. Well, thank you. The way I work, for those that haven't seen it, basically everything that I say before the demonstration, the link, it has pertinence. And as I said, you know, it's just us. So of course, I heard this voice in the background say, no, it isn't. I'm here too, which I found quite amusing, I have to admit. Thank you. So as this person who steps forward, I do feel a very big and bold and strong personality coming through. And I do feel this gentleman would have had a huge impact on your life. In the sense of his personality was just so big and so bold, and that booming voice that I just had echo right through my skull, basically, had such an impact on you. All of the stories that you tell of him, even now, you can still hear that voice in your head telling you those little messages. I am speaking of a father, grandfather figure, this emotional connection to you as one of helping you and developing you and telling you what to do all the time, but in a wonderfully loving and kind way. Would you, before I go off on a complete and wild tangent, because I always forget this bit, would you understand this gentleman, dear?
Yes, it could be dad or granddad. They were both very similar.
Let's find out which one it is then. Okay, so I think this might be a reason why I'm wearing my reading glasses right now, which means that I can actually see you, but I'm actually been inspired to take them off and put my distance glasses on, which I do feel is that something this gentleman would have done. And oh, I like him. He's so funny. He just turns around and goes, sometimes I deliberately mix them up just so that I didn't have to look at the people that were sitting in front of me. So I do feel that he had a really, really naughty sense of humor. I'm not like that. I actually want to see what I'm doing. So I'm swapping back on. But it's just this little thing that he's done to help you identify which one it is. But also, once again, demonstrate that profoundly uplifting personality, because you knew he was doing it, more importantly. And this is, he says, I taught her so much. It's not that she doesn't use that one, because I'm sure she doesn't, but there's other things that I taught her she makes use of, especially with dealing with annoying people. And he's just such a lovely, lovely bloke standing here behind me. And that level of upliftment, that level of humor, I know you do miss. But I'm also reminded that you are very much aware of his presence so often that he doesn't give you a chance to miss his personality. Yes, we miss the physical, he says, but you don't get a chance to miss my personality, because I'm always whispering in the back of your mind all of my little sayings just so that you can keep hearing them again. So that's a lovely thing to have. And am I correct in because I've seen your name pop up in the comments from time to time, but would I be correct in understanding that you are actually a medium yourself, in that you've developed and can get messages for yourself from time to time, and all that sort of stuff we put ourselves through?
But my grandma was very psychic, and I think I've got her abilities. So
yeah, you don't need to have necessarily sat in circle to be able to give yourself information again, because as we all know, we all have the inherent within us ability to be a medium. Rule number one, as Lynn often says, is to accept that and get on with it. And I have to say, you've sat and watched Reverend Lynn speaking. This gentleman here and Lynn would have got on either like a house on fire or just a bonfire, full stop, because they would have interacted, and they're very similar in personality. And I think that's why I take to him so well, because I'm so used to my very good friend's personality there, sitting there beaming. She thinks that because I'm working, I haven't noticed her taking photos on her camera phone of us talking for later on. But there you go. Because actually he was very, very sharp-eyed. The whole bit about the glasses aside, he didn't miss a trick.
No.
And people thought that they could pull the wool over their eyes, but what they didn't realize is that it was him that gave them the wool. And it's that whole level of personality coming through that you need right now, that you need reminding of right now. And he's saying, my girl, I tell you this much. You are a chip off the old block. You are a chip off the old block. And you definitely do take after me more than any of. Do you know, one of the hardest things I find about being a medium is the way that spirit refer to their friends and family, because he says, you take after me a lot more than that lot. So I'm also aware that not everyone had the same opinion of him that you did. But there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, people are individual, people are different, people behave differently with each other. But you, And see, I pick this up. So he's getting ready to chuck this at somebody now. But you understood him. You got him. And for that, he was eternally grateful, because sometimes, thank you, he's changing tactics slightly at the moment. And he's saying sometimes he actually did feel very lonely. And one of his reasons was the way he behaved, but also that was his reaction as well. It was the cause and the reaction. It just ended up pushing people further away because they just didn't get him. And to be frank, he wasn't interested in people who didn't get him, because they were never going to get him. So why waste your time? This gentleman, thank you. Oh, this gentleman would do so well in modern life. He was so far ahead of his time, you see. And his whole like it or lump it, he'd oh my gosh, I can't. Yeah, of course I can say that. He goes, I'd have taken these keyboard warriors to task. That's for one thing. They wouldn't have been sitting behind their keyboards for much longer with me around. And it's just this absolute strength of will and determination that he's got here for you, willing you on in the path that you're taking. He is very much aware that you've been sitting there. He says, you've been sitting there contemplating your navel again, dear. And thinking about things and overthinking things. And as he sits there watching you overthinking things, you know, he's getting it ready. Oi, and get your attention, basically. And then a quick clip round the back of the head is like, come on, I'm here. Wake up, get on with it. He's so adamant that you should know that you're doing all right and that you will do all right, and that you look, you know your own mind, you know your own feelings, and you should stop being led by, well, let's just say, if I were to translate it Lynn style into what's it's, don't be distracted by the what's it's, and allow yourself to just be the free and independent person that he knows you are, and stop letting other people tell you what to do. He says they can try. He says, I know that you're strong enough, but sometimes he worries that you allow yourself to be led more than you should, and he doesn't want that for you, because you are a leader, not a follower, and that you need to first and foremost lead your own life and let everything else take that. So there's thank you. I keep getting this date in my head. I've got to give you, not necessarily in connection with him, but definitely in connection with you or around you. The 22nd of April keeps popping into my head as an important date, so I'll give that to you. And thank you. What is that? Okay. Rule number one that I was always taught: give what you get. As he's starting to step away, he just wants me to show you him having a shave. I think there's some important memory link around him having a shave. So he just wants to say, I'm having another one. I'm having another one. And as he steps back now, I have to give you, what is this? You know, it's been over 20 years since I was a florist, and I've forgotten some of the names, and I'm sure Grandma will get very grumpy with me for that. But what is that? Turn it round for me, thank you. It looks like a carnation, but not. No. I correct myself. Chrysanthemum. How could I forget? He wants to give you chrysanthemums. So as I give that with his love, I'll say, God bless you. Thank you for working with me. And then I'll jump to the other side and say, I hope that was all right for you, my dear.
It was fabulous. Thank you.
You're very,
very made...
Well, we would hope. That's the main thing. That's the goal, at least. It's so lovely of you to come on. Thank you ever so much. And do stay around for closing prayer. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, and now it is time to move swiftly on. I see Susan is sitting there ready with her tech all sorted. Let's get on with it so her battery doesn't run out. Susan, can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. So let's move swiftly on, shall we? And see who's out and about. You see, once again, I remind everyone that what I say as I link in has important connections to the person that I'm communicating with. That's how Gordon, my guide, kind of like feeds them into me with these so-called random ramblings that I use. They're never random, and they're certainly probably are ramblings to most people, but not from my friends. And Gordon certainly always feeds something in to help soften the blow, so to speak. And so as I said, who's out and about? And this is certainly very pertinent for this person that's standing over my shoulder, but also for you as well. And that doesn't mean to say that you necessarily have been out and about, but it's that you want to be out and about, and that you are getting sick and tired of being held back. And now I know that people could easily say, oh, well, that's to do with COVID. Everybody's like that. Actually, I would love 5 minutes peace and quiet and be stuck in the house for a week. I'll be honest with you, but it doesn't happen. Not to everybody. But for you, it's this feeling of needing to be out and about that you not necessarily have missed, but crave, actually, because you are a very social person, I'm being told, and you feel like you've plugged a bit of a gap with all of this internet malarkey, but it's just not the same as a good old hug, because I'm being told here that you are a very tactile person and you like a good hug, and I understand your feeling. That's exactly what I'm missing too, if truth be told. And the reason that all of this is coming through, of course, I'm showing everybody my wall, forgetting that they can't see this person stood behind me. And for the first time tonight, they're actually showing themselves on the camera behind me. It's wonderful. They do like to develop. I can see them rather than having to close my eyes and look behind me. Maybe it's a new way of working. But this lady that's doing this for me, actually, thank you very much. She was someone who was very much like you in the whole huggy, tactile sense, but also a lot more modern than she should have been, in the sense that she wouldn't have had any problem with technology. She wouldn't have had any problem with learning new things. And certainly this showing herself for me has saved me keep doing that and looking over there and distracting myself. Because I'm a walker. I like to walk and pace, and when I'm sitting down, it feels very strange. And she's saying, well, let me help you. She was a helper. She was kind. She was generous, and she'd always learn new things to help people out. And as she stands, I'm very much aware. Thank you. As she stands there, she's loving your cardigan. It's something like what she would have worn. She says, although I don't think mine were ever that fluffy, but it looks so warm and snuggly. And it's like a big old hug all of itself. So tonight is for you all about hugs. I am made of thank you. She was such a ranter and a talker that she would sometimes forget formality. If nothing else, she would jump from conversation to conversation and sometimes even start you halfway through the conversation that she'd had in her head, because I'm reminding her, hang on, we haven't actually identified who you are. And she's saying, well, I've identified who I am and I know who I am, and that's all that matters. So she was very much like that in personality, but I'm just having to get the guys out the back to reel her in a little bit, actually, just so that we can identify this lady. And once again, on the emotional connection, I do feel I feel very strange in that connection, because I do want to say a grandmotherly figure, because it's mum with a bit of distance. It's mum with a bit of fun. So it's this kind of person who would have taken you under her wing and looked after you. I do want to say grandmother, even though I feel that slight strangeness with it, in the sense that there was this little bit more distance, perhaps either physically or emotionally, but also it's because she was more like a friend most of the time. She was someone who you could really rely on, someone who you could really connect with. Do you understand this lady at all that I'm talking about before I carry on ranting even more?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. See, it's always good to check, isn't it? Okay. Thank you. So going back, the lady, to give you the description, a grandmotherly figure who would have been someone who you could rely on. So it could have even been a friend who was older than you that would have had that grandmotherly feel to her. But it's this feeling of distance and that confused me, I'll be honest with you. But the thing about the cardigans and loving what you're wearing, she keeps drawing me to your glasses as well, and just keeps tapping the corner of them and saying about liking those. She remembers you with a different hairstyle, is what I can say. It's changed from when she was hugging you. She says, in actual fact, I don't know whether this is some sort of memory. She's saying, with your hair as it is now, it wouldn't have got in my face as much when I hugged you. So I don't know whether your hair was higher up or slightly more out. But she's just referring to the fact that it's changed. The random Lynn was talking about the random things that they remember about us. Am I making a connection for you now? Am I?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Because of the distance, you're saying about a distance. The only grandmother I had was closer, not a distance.
Right. Would you understand, because I need to identify what this distance is about. See, distance can be time, it can be physical, it can be emotional. Would you understand that it feels like forever since you lost her?
No.
In that case, would you understand that physical distance then? Because there's something, distance is always either time, emotion, or sorry, what was the other one? Time, emotion, or physical. Thank you, physical. How can I forget the physical world? So it's one of those three why there feels like that distance. I mean, I'll leave that one with you and move on. If that makes no sense, that's just me, maybe. But certainly it's this wanting to hug you right now that matters the most. Although she still keeps getting obsessed with your cardigan. She says, mine would have been more colourful though, dear. And she wants colour around you more. She wants because you always, thank you, you always brought brightness and colour to her life, you see. And so she wants colour and upliftment and hugs for you. And I mean, to me, looking at you, you seem very calm, very happy, and very switched on. But she's saying, no, don't be fooled by that facade. She said she just covers it up well. And actually, she could get very sassy too. She had this level of sass to her. She covers that up. And certainly when she was talking about that, she was one of these. Have a peek, see what they're up to over there. You couldn't get away with walking down her garden path and surprising her, because she knew before you'd even decided that you were coming that you were on her way. And it's that kind of laughter and love and happiness that you really, really, really need right now. And she wants to bring that color back to you, that laughter, that happiness, that joy, and healing too. Actually, I think she would have been one of our greatest healers, in her personality and her compassion and love, actually. And certainly this is something that she wants to bring to you right now. But she also was a very practical lady, in the sense that she would want to give you all the explanations and all of the answers that you ever needed. And I know from what she's saying that you are searching for them right now. And she's saying there are no simple answers. There are no simple explanation. And she had problem with her teeth as well. I always hate it when I get this. There are no simple explanations or answers, but you know in your heart what is right, and you know in your heart what isn't right. And she has full confidence in you to move forward with that information alone, because she says this one, she says this one was brought up right. And yeah, thank you. She wants me to fixedly, squarely stare you in the eyes, which is really, really difficult when you're looking at a camera, looking at a screen. But I'm looking right into your eyes as she would have done, and said, "You're doing all right." And that's what counts. And as for the hugs, it won't be long now, she says. It won't be long now. In the meantime, you'll just have to put up with me spiritually hugging you. And there are so many. There's a gentleman joining her who would say that he would be first in line and beat her with that hug. So really and seriously, I have to say that their hugs are what matter, and they're hugging you. And a big hug from the spirit world for you. Yes, this gentleman, as he pushes forward, right, he's very, very different to this lady in so many ways, but the love for you is what matters. Okay. I feel that when it was just you two, he was very, 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 very talkative, to the extent that you could never blooming well shut him up. But when it mattered most, there was few words at all. And right now, there's few words at all, because to him it matters most. I do feel okay. What is okay. I have to do this. It might be back to front, but I keep being drawn to play with my wedding. Would you understand that this gentleman, would you understand a partner in spirit, my love?
Yes.
Right. Because I keep doing that, and I just, like I said, he comes across as this kind of Jack the Lad laugh and would talk the hind legs off a donkey, but with you, he's just like sitting there. And I do feel that as I was crossing between the two people, the staring was as much from him as it was from you, and that you could say so many things without saying anything at all. And he says, I often sit there and watch her all the time, and she knows I'm there. She just needs to be confirmed that I'm there. And so here he is, confirming that he's there, and that he wants you to, thank you, take one day at a time, one step at a time, but never stop, never stand still, and always keep moving forward, because he's coming with you every step of the way. He says, I know you missed the physical side of it, but you're just going to have to put up with me watching and taking the mick out of you from the wings for now. But I will continue to have a giggle with you. I will continue to have a laugh with you. And I will continue to argue with this other one behind me in order which one gets the first hug. And with that, of course, one of the things that people tend to notice about me, and it's something that I learned very early on, is that I always end the reading with a gift, and quite oftentimes it was flowers. And my own mind kind of took over in the conversation. I said, "Oh, I hope you've got a rose ready for her." And he said, "No, I have not got a rose ready for her." He says, "This is infinite up here. I've got every rose for her." So his parting gift is every rose. Every rose that ever existed, exists right now, or ever will exist. They're to you from me with love. And I will say, God bless you.
Okay, thank you.
And normally I have a chat, but I'm going to say I'll let you get back to watching from the wings like he would. And we'll see you at the end, hopefully.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't want to run your battery down completely, which I think has lasted rather well, by the way.
Well, I'm holding the charger to the phone at the moment.
In that case, I'll give your fingers a rest and I'll see you soon. God bless.
Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Well, let's see who is... there's Nicola. Hello, Nicola. Are you there? I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do something, but I need just more than me on the screen for a few minutes because you have got Bully's special prize. So that means that we need to make a public service announcement, doesn't it? Hannah, what time is it? Bully's special prize. So are you making your mum's life difficult for her birthday, dear?
Yeah.
Good. That's the main thing. Bless you. Well, thank you as ever for coming on and supporting the continuity of tradition, my dear. And there seems to be a very strange noise going on. Is that me? Is that you? Or is that the angels playing with a microphone, I wonder?
Probably the angels.
Yeah.
I think so too. Bless you, my darling. Well, I'll see you at the end, and thank you as ever and always. Love you, babe. Right, young lady, it is down to you now. Oh, I think it's your microphone actually, so maybe the angels are playing with your microphone.
Could be.
That's well. I will ignore the rumbling noise and crack straight into it if that's all right with you. I need in both ears, otherwise it'll unbalance me. And just like that, it stopped. Wow! Thank you. Oh. Right. Okay. So. It would be fair to say, just to make sure that everyone's aware that everything's above board, we have talked from time to time. I've never physically met you before, but it's only since this we started chatting. There are a few things I know about you, but there's plenty that I don't. And that's what spirit tend to focus on. So let's go with that. I'm being very much made aware. Thank you. Okay. The lady from earlier on, she's still helping direct traffic. It's lovely. I'm very much aware of a motherly figure here. I'm being told now that the rumbling's actually my voice echoing through your microphone. She's very interested in this rumbling going on, and she's saying that this is the same with you. There's a lot of rumblings going on. Thank you. And what she's telling me actually is, in fact, that these rumblings have got nothing to do with what we've been talking about. She's saying you've been keeping this one particularly close to your chest, in the sense that she's telling me that you've always been this kind of person who's had something going on and up to things. And she's saying it's not being up to no good. It's being called keeping yourself busy, which is what you do. And she's saying that you've got this. Oh, wow. Okay. So if this is a list of things that you're doing now, and then this is the list of things that you want to do next, she's saying all the way down there is what else you've got lined up. She's She said, "Oh, I could never have lived like that, planning every minute and every second of every." But that's how you get through your time. You plan everything because you've. Oh, thank you. Because you've always had to. Would you understand that? Would you understand also that this? Would you also understand that this lady would have laughed hysterically about the regimental way in which you run your life? She would have struggled with that element or that extent. Apologies, not element, extensive regimental behaviour. Don't get me wrong; she was always very organised and very planning and very controlled, but she says, "You're something else, doll." She's laughing because you never used to be like this. And I think that's the main reason she's laughing.
Okay.
That you've developed that more and more over the years. And the times that, oh, thank you. She says, the times that you used to laugh at me for how strict and regimental I was, and now you're worse. She finds that quite funny.
Yeah.
Bless her heart. What I can tell you is that she thinks it's wonderful. I can also tell you that you're frozen, but it's all right. You're back. No, that's fine. It's almost as like she was taking a snapshot of that moment. Ah, thank you. Right. This is what you've been doing with your life. You've been taking a snapshot. Oh, hang on. There you are. Oh, you're coming back. That's fine. Oh, no, gone again. Oh, there you are. You're back properly now. Right. So well, he said. What I can tell you, if you can listen, even if you can't see me, is that she's very pleased with this element of self-discipline that you have. She's very pleased with this element of control, but she's saying loosen off a little bit, darling. Don't forget to enjoy yourself. Don't forget to. Oh, thank you. And it must be a night of quoting Reverend Lynn, because it's don't forget to take weight off your slingbacks, love. And this was her concern for you, that you're going at it so hammer and tongue. It's like you're riding a horse and afraid to get off because it won't slow down. And she says you have a habit of that. You just don't let go.
Yeah.
And she wants you to know that it's okay to let go.
Okay.
As she comes forward, she's showing me. See, I've seen this lady before. I believe I've given her to her before. I do believe this is Mum. But she always used to come in very, very sensibly dressed, very formal, always wearing the pretty dress for a special occasion kind of way. But today she's just come in, she's just relaxed and casual. And she's
Okay.
This is the reason that I'm dressing like this, is because I had work to do and I had to get on with it. And you just got to be comfortable when you're doing it. And it's her way of showing once again a little bit of her personality, but also as a message and a reminder to you of what you must do.
Yeah.
I have to thank you. Bless her heart. She was very, very funny and very, very witty and always a little bit naughty with her sense of humour. Because I turned around to her and I said, would you like to give me a date as a link? And she said, well, you could easily get away with today. Because of course it's your sister's birthday, but she's having that fun of saying, well, you could always get away. Thank you. The reason she's doing that is because she wants to point out to you that sometimes you can have a little bit of a laugh and not take things too seriously, and that's important. As she does say that, of course she does genuinely give you the actual date, and thank you. It's lovely because they when I'm using the computer and I'm giving they actually highlight the letters on the keyboard for me for a month. And sometimes if it's a J, I'm stuck because there's quite a few of them. But I know that I've got March here as and looking around March 6th as an important date around the family, and certainly in connection. So if you can take that, if not, then obviously just keep hold of it and you can let me know when you figure it out, because I know she's absolutely adamant it's March the 6th as an important date. And I'll give that to you. Okay. All right then. Throughout the week, I randomly dump stuff on my desk, and she keeps pointing something out to me that I randomly dumped on my desk. Something to show to you, to say not to use. Sticking plasters. She's saying they don't help when you need proper stuff. She says all they serve to do is cover it up, and then when you try and rip them off, it hurts even more. She said, go back to the beginning, do things the right way, and forget about sticking plasters. Do it properly. Because that way it won't hurt when you pull them off. A very, very random piece of advice, but I have to give it. And I do feel she was full of random wisdom. And would use physical objects to help you out and explain what she's doing. So she'd have been a very good spiritualist, that's for sure. And as she starts to step back now, I have to thank you. I have to give you tulips. As a memory link and as a parting gesture. So lots of love, and forget the sticking plasters. Forget about all of that. Just know that keeping yourself busy is fine, but don't forget to be yourself too. And I'll say from her, God bless you, and thank you for working with me.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Well, my friends, I think that it's time that everyone would be grateful to have some peace from Reverend Nick's voice. So over to our usual conclusion and final thoughts we will now have with another Reverend and a very good friend of mine, Reverend Lynn. Are you there?
Yes, of course I am. What a wonderful service you provided, Reverend Nick. It's so lovely to see the love that shines down on everybody from over on the other side of life. Their loved ones are able to connect and make their presence felt, and the emotion that comes through is tangible. You know, love is an abstract, perhaps, but it has its own reality. And you can see it in operation when you watch communications between that world and this one, and the love that comes through is amazing. And of course, you know, love is the only thing that matters. And I don't. Love is a bit misused, isn't it, as a word? And I think that, you know, St. Paul's qualifications of what love is stands good for all time. You know, the letter that he wrote to the Corinthian church. And of course, I always identify with that, because, of course, the Corinthian church was full of people who were sort of very individualistic. They lived a good life, or they tried to. You know, that they wanted to have a bit of fun as well. And of course, Paul was a bit sort of disparaging of that. And he was a bit worried that they would all sort of go off at a tangent and just sort of get on with everything else in life and not really have thought of a spiritual side to what life really means. And in that respect, love, of course, is the key. And he wrote a letter to the church in Corinth, which had to be read out, of course, because most people didn't read or write. And he set out what his idea of love was. And I think that tonight, Reverend Nick, you have proved to us that love is a really tangible part of our life. In fact, it's all our life, isn't it? And to see people reunited with loved ones who they have felt they've lost, it's just wonderful. And like I used to say, Reverend Nick, you only need 3 pieces of definite evidence of proof of survival to say that you've had a successful communication, and you've definitely had those 3 pieces and more. And I'm sure that everybody will join me in thanking you for a lovely evening, and look forward to some more. And I'm sure that more and more people will come to know the truth that we're trying to spread around us, that there is life after this life, and that those that we love are able, when they've gone over to the other side, to come back and give us that comfort that we so badly need, and however strong we appear to be. And just to finish up by saying that I think that being able to do that is nothing short of a miracle, and brings us back to the miracle of communication between us and that heavenly realm, and all the wonderful things that happen in our lives. So God bless you, Reverend Nick. Thank you so much for inviting me to say a few words, and I'm very proud of everything that you have achieved in your life so far, especially your spiritual life.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. And when I say thank you, I don't just out to me. So yeah, I hate my own voice, especially when it's coming back in here. Yeah, I know, and I'm very grateful to all of the kind messages that have been coming. One of the things that people tend to forget is that just because we're up here week in, week out doing the work of spirit, we still suffer, we still endure, we still have our own difficulties to face. And rather than shying away from that, one of the first things that I was ever taught is that that's part of who we are. That's part of what we do. And as Lynn once said to me, you can tell when somebody is going to be a medium because they have endured and suffered. And I think that the moment that any medium forgets that is the moment that they lose the emotional connection with not just the world of spirit, but also their recipients. And then that battle is lost. So thank you for that first piece of advice that you gave me, because I've never forgotten it. And thank you for coming on week in, week out, giving us sage guidance, sage wisdom, sage advice, and occasionally making the chair and or both the medium spit their drink out with one of your occasional comments. So bringing it back up there. Thank you so much, Lynn. And I'm not going to send you back down. I'm going to bring everybody up. So where's Alan? There's Alan. And then there's Sam and Hannah. Up you come. And then there's Susan. Susan's still with us. So welcome back on, Susan. Nicola is still with us. I do believe that our other friend has had to pop off. So we will say, but there we are, all of us here together for our final prayer. And look, Hannah knows what's going on because she's already ready, bless her heart. Is she a good girl? She'll make a wonderful platform medium herself one day as well, when we can finally get together and do some proper development together. But friends, thank you all for being part of tonight, and everyone at home and everyone who will be watching. As Lynn said, hello, good evening, welcome, good night, and see you tomorrow. And thanks for coming yesterday for those that will be watching previously and before and after and whatever time of day or night. Thank you all for supporting what it is that we do here, which I truly believe is the benefit and comfort for the world, from and on behalf of the world of spirit. To that end, let us pray. As we say, Great Spirit, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as friends, to unite under your banner of love and hope and friendship, and to witness and together find that proof and truth that life is indeed eternal. I ask for a blessing to be placed on each person here present, watching now and in the future, and ask that that blessing shine upon each and every one of them and spread to their friends and families and loved ones, so that each person in the world may be touched by your love and your light. And so until we meet again, dear Lord, may it ever be in your name and with these wonderful and wise words, in the name of love, in the name of truth, and in the name of light. Amen. So I'd like to thank Reverend Lynn for coming on as ever. Thank you to Alan for your wonderful, wonderful reading. Thank you to Nicola and Susan for coming on. And of course, to our other guests who's had to dash off, to Sam and Hannah, and of course, our good friend Bully. And to all of those who've been watching. Oh, Tracy is still watching. She's just watching without her doobry. There you are. I can see her. Bless her. She just said amen. So thank you all for being part of this. But until next week, when we will be back, may the peace of the Great Spirit go with you all. But until next time, good night, God bless, and good God. Night night.